Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Haney and I am doing this week's Week 12 assignment, Northern Ireland from Britain's Perspective. Please excuse my voice, I am getting over a little bit of a cold, so it does sound a little bit odd today. Northern Ireland's background. Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, located in Northeast Island of Ireland, shares a border to the south and west with the Republic of Ireland. As we learned, they are both separated. Just wanted to clarify that for anyone who may be a little bit confused. Here is a picture of Ireland. As we could see, Northern Ireland is significantly smaller than the rest of the Republic of Ireland. Northern Ireland background. In 1920, the partition of Ireland occurred when the British Parliament passed the Government of Ireland Act. In 1922, what was intended to be Southern Ireland separated from the United Kingdom as the Irish Free State. Nationalists claim that the partition is wrong because in 1918, a majority voted for independence of the whole island and the Unionist minority had no right to block this democratic decision. Nationalists pointed out partition was maintained by policies of discrimination, gerrymander, and oppression directed at the Catholic minority. Unionists denied unfair practices directed at Catholics. Others who admitted to this said Northern Ireland was entitled to protect itself against a disloyal minority. The South discriminated against their own small Protestant minority, and that's just how it just kind of went back and forth with that. Just for clarification, the Republic of Ireland is majority Catholic and Northern Ireland is majority Protestant. Government of Ireland Act of 1920 sought to make provisions for all Irish institutions. The provisions were made for it to eventually become an Irish Parliament in case they decided to unite and become one. Long established offices would continue. Provisions was made for 40-member Inter-Parliamentary Council of Ireland, 20 from the North and 20 from the Southern Parliaments. And Council of Ireland actually never ended up meeting, so that ended up not working out well. We get into the Irish and British relationship. Great Britain's relationship helped influence Irish politics, constitutional norms, party development, and political behavior. The Anglo-Irish Agreement of 1938 had ended land annuities dispute and resolved other outstanding differences. This was a positive for the Irish-British relationship. In 1965, the two governments signed the Anglo-Irish Free Trade Agreement. This agreement stated the need for practical cooperation. In 1968, Northern Ireland ran into problems that casted a shadow on Irish-British relationship. Public opinion was upset with the harsh treatment of Catholics. All of this actually ended up producing the Derry Civil Rights March of October 1969, Belfast riots of August 1969, the interment without trial of suspected IRA activists of 1971, and the killing of 13 unarmed civilians by British troops in Derry on Bloody Sunday in January 1972. Other things that happened was the Arms of Crisis of 1970, when ministers were accused of smuggling arms for use of Northern nationalists, and the burning of the British Embassy in 1972. The British government said this was an internal UK affair, and it was not the Irish government's business to deal with. This is basically the start of a lot of bloodshed that went on in Ireland, Northern Ireland to be specific, that just basically started and caused a lot of problems. In 1973, an agreement in Sunnydale, England, between the Northern Ireland Executive designated the British and Irish governments to make provisions for a Council of Ireland with significant executive powers. The executive was formed in 1973 by the new Northern Ireland Assembly. This was to create power sharing between nationalists and unionists. Obviously, the two nationalists and unionists really don't get along well, so this is probably why it caused a lot of problems. This council would consist of the UK, Northern Ireland, and Republic of Ireland for common concerns. The Council of Ireland agreed in 1973 that it was never going to meet. Opponents of the Sunnydale Agreement took control of Ulster Unionist Party later that month. An election to Westminster in February 1974 registered a majority for anti-Sunnydale Unionists. In May 1974, a political strike organized by the Loyalist Ulster Workers' Council that brought the resignation of the executive, which, like I said before, was something put into place to try to create power sharing between the nationalists and unionists. It was at this time, too, that the bombings were planted by loyalists in Dublin and Monaghan. Sorry for the butcher of that name, but that those bombs ended up killing 33 people. Efforts like the Constitutional Convention in 1975 through 1976 failed, and British switched their attention to security policy, which was an unsuccessful attempt to defeat the IRA. For those of you who aren't aware, the IRA is the Irish Republican Army. The British undertook their own initiative in 1982 with the creation of an assembly on which executive powers might be conferred if there were substantial consensus in the assembly. The assembly proved unsuccessful since only two parties, the DUP, which is the Democratic Unionist Party, and the Alliance Party, participated in the Assembly's affairs. Both of those parties, just for clarification, are Northern Ireland political parties. The New Ireland Forum met in 1983 to 84 and identified a unitary Irish state as its preferred option. It also considered two models of federal state and joint rule over Northern Ireland. Just for clarification, this New Ireland Forum was majority nationalist, so that's part of the reason why you'll see that they wanted to create a unite Ireland. The options considered by the New Ireland Forum were each dismissed by British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Thatcher did, however, engage in negotiations with the Irish side. The Anglo-Irish Agreement of 1985 was aimed to help end the troubles in Northern Ireland, even though eventually we'll learn that it didn't do so. Another agreement had to come into place. Unionists disagreed with the agreement, and it also didn't come close to satisfying the nationalists. Provisions were remarkable, and even though sovereignty would reside with British, the Irish government would be entitled to express their views and make proposals. Disagreements, if they were to occur, the two sides would make efforts to solve them. So that is part of the reason why in 1985 the Anglo-Irish Agreement was signed. The two governments agreed that any change in status of Northern Ireland would only happen with consent of a majority in Northern Ireland, and they recognized that the wish of the majority of Northern Ireland is for no change in status of Northern Ireland, declared that if the majority wishes for a united Ireland, they will introduce the idea to the Parliament's legislation to give effect to that wish. The agreement also endorsed the creation of a parliament body, and this parliament body actually didn't end up going into effect until 1990, which is called the British-Irish Interparliamentary Body. The Good Friday Agreement was implemented on Good Friday, April 10th, 1998. This agreement actually is what ended up really helping all of the parties involved, like Britain and both the Irish states. This was a a major political development in Northern Ireland's peace process in 1990. The agreement covered the issues of power sharing within Northern Ireland and the Irish dimension, and also the broader relationship between the British and Irish. The agreement was combined with a very complex series of provisions. The agreement was approved by voters across the island of Ireland on May 20th, 1998. And the Good Friday Agreement has marked significant normalization between North, South, and British-Irish relationship. The peace within Northern Ireland has been assisted by outside interests. The British and Irish governments have come together due to their shared concerns within the EU and the broader international interests, and the Republic has dropped its territorial claim on Northern Ireland and agreed Irish unity can only come about by popular agreement. I know I didn't say it before, but I just want to mention that the Good Friday Agreement actually is what ultimately ended the troubles within Northern Ireland, and the Anglo-Irish Agreement didn't do so because they didn't have anything really set in stone to do so. So this really is what helped change everything around, and obviously Northern Ireland has no interest in becoming a unitary state with the Republic of Ireland, but I guess we'll have to see if that ever actually ends up happening. Nationalists do want that to happen, and the Unionists don't want that to happen, but the dispute between that has become a lot more peaceful, and it isn't pushed as much anymore, so I guess we'll actually have to just end up seeing what happens. But thanks you everyone for listening. Once again, my name is Rebecca, and I will post the question on the discussion board. Thanks.